What is up, chat? We are live here with the CKL Summer Switchup midterm review. Just gotta do a little mid-season overview, get some progress reports out there, talk about what's been happening this season. Should be a shorter stream, I guess, like no more than 1-2 hours at the very most. How are we doing for all those here in chat so far? Really happy to see you guys are here. Shout out to Rumble being first, Six who's about to go take a shower, I guess, and as well as Zay Angle already being here as well. Hope you guys are all having a good one. We don't have any summer switch up games happening for like a couple of days, I think, so should be fun just to like get some extra content, give a little bit of a bring this back. A little bit been missing doing the CK 101s, the stuff like this, so it's been really fun. Should be a shorter stream once again though. So here we are. What are we talking about today? First of all, just gotta be going through each and every team, give a little like progress report, nothing like super official, but talking about the progress of each team, what's been happening, some big surprises, some good results, how are they trending, especially with 2 weeks left in the season, 4 games left, and the playoff race, as you guys already know, is incredibly tight. So we're gonna be giving a good look into that because there's going to be a lot of interesting things, a lot of great matchups, especially with the conference matches being once again returning at the in these last 2 weeks. The last 3 games are all within conference, so this should be fun. And then we're gonna be talking about some draft steals. There's no like notable draft busts, which is love to hear that, but there have been some pretty crazy steals that I think we're going to have to like give some stuff. Hello, Short, and happy to see you here. Gonna get right into it then with some progress reports, scoring series. Yeah, it's weird. The font makes the L look like a C, and I'm like, I kind of hate it, but I'm like, I was working on it like not long ago, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep it there. It's the fonts. It looks so stupid like that, but on the bright side, we're not gonna have to see that very long. Let's get right into the progress report things, yeah. So, as just a quick overview, if you look at the screen here, you do see that the standings are really close overall. We're looking at Conference A, 3-3 from F-, 3-3 MKW, 180 and Buns, both tied at 2-4. Been some interesting things overall, especially in Conference A, which, as was commonly agreed upon by a lot of people, Conference A was projected to be the stronger conference. They had the earlier draft picks, which, if you remember, like that gives you a steal of like, you get Greg, you get Fate, Super Effects, Cairo in the top 4. So we expect the Conference A to potentially be stronger, but it's been a bloodbath. Now, obviously, these teams aren't always throwing out like best lineup every week. You've been seeing some groups going for different strategies, which we'll talk about when we overview each team. And in Conference B, Baba Merchants 5-1 so far. The Crew, Bowser's Big Crew in 4-2. Tip of the Ice World 3-3, and then King Crimson at 2-4. Still close overall here, while Baba Merchants have that bit of more of a dominant run so far in their conference. It's by no means like that as dominant as it could be. They're not 6-0 or anything, and really a lot of the games have been pretty close. So let's give a quick overview on each team, talk about how all of them are doing. If you look at the power, I have the power rankings up here. This isn't public exactly, but it does give at least the rosters here, which is helpful. We're going to talk right now, just go in draft order, starting off with MK Walui's. MKW has had an interesting season so far. Originally starting off 0-2 on the season, if you look at their fixtures here, with a interesting loss against F-. It was one of the more, fun wars, I guess. 5v5, that's the table of all time, if I can quick pull that up. Yeah, this being like their second match of the season, I think it was, or one of the earlier ones. This was one of the wackiest tables you will ever see. Just the 5v5 is, if you guys know, is like one of the very different formats to play in. Obviously, not Mario Kart Wii, but in 6v6, when that's traditionally what we use in MK8, 5v5 does produce some crazy results. You saw Cairo just kind of running away with just, minimal shock, minimal blue shell. So Cairo just goes. And that was insane, especially when you look at what MKW was bringing. They had Vistoga V, they had Wall, D-Mouse, Greg, Zoe. It's a solid MK Wall lineup. Limiting them to like lesser than expected points, but hey. MK Wall, they started off rougher than we were expecting, because if you remember, they were very much projected to be the #1 team off the top of right from the jump. Every analyst projected them as like unanimous #1. They drafted Greg early and then was able to just add so much great players to that squad. But then week 1 happened, and you saw some, I guess, like differences in play that were a bit like eye-openers, I would say, here for MK Wall Louise. So the thing with MK Wall is that typically what we have been seeing is that they have a lot of high-scoring tops. You have Greg, who's objectively one of the best players in the collegiate scene we have, representing Texas Tech, now representing High Definition, I want to say, also. So adding Greg to a team that has a lot of great players here now is just insane. So if you look at how they drafted, they got Mr. Active Skill, great player as well, Vistoga, and then you add in all these players which all come from like the traditional MKW family, MK University, MK College, MK Scholars now too. So you have Rajo, D-Mouse, Zoe, Jay Guzzi. And then to add on some like extra support pieces, Dracius from, I want to say, UAH, and Slap the Rat from one of the Texas schools, either, I don't know if it's Texas Tech or if it's UTSA off the top of my head, but I know they were originally on the Texas Unified team. So we looked at how MK Wall drafted, and it really made a lot of sense, because putting them at near the top to begin with. UTEP, oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, there's quite a few different Texas schools. Hello, Bo. Hope you're at the airport now, I think. So, hope you're having a good one, man. Sad I won't be able to see you tomorrow at Broad Street Blur, but hopefully I can see you soon, Bo. By the way, stream Dynamo says hi. Just got a DM from that. Just want to relay that message. We'll talk about Dynamo a bit more when we talk about F-, who has been one of the stories of the season, I want to say. Dynagoat. Bro is in a car going to the airport. Okay, happy to hear that. Okay, so MKW has been an interesting team just overall, because they had such high expectations placed on them by the rest of the scene, and haven't exactly lived up to it yet, which is saying a lot, just because of how good, what we expected from MKW. Obviously, they went 0-2 to start off the season. Then they got a win on Buns, when this Buns game was close, if I remember, was extremely close. Yeah, I remember seeing this matchup, hearing about this, and it's like, yeah, this is one of the premier matchups really you can think of, because this is almost top lineup for both. There's maybe a couple changes. Really, actually, for Buns, this might be their top lineup. I'm trying to think right now. I think maybe Nova instead here, or one of their players. 3-4 Buns top 4, yeah. And then MK Wall, Bagel. That's who I was wondering. It's like, yeah, there's missing someone here, but Bagel would have been huge for Buns. You know what, MK Wall, you have the 3 powerhouse names: Greg, Active, V. No Wall. But you have Zoe there, Rajo, Dracius. So this is a potential playoff matchup if they make it to playoffs. But the fun thing is, you do get to see them play again. Halo 6, happy to see you back. We didn't talk about much yet. We're still just covering MK Wall at this point. So yeah, MK Wall, Louise, after a rough start, wins against King Crimson pretty handedly too, at least, which was expected from them. Beats Tip. They beat Tip recently on stream, and that just really shows that they have like, which actually the match against Tip is incredibly interesting, because it kind of breaks the idea of how both these teams want to play. We'll discuss Tip later on in more detail, with maybe a lot more detail, but this is a very interesting matchup for both teams, especially for MK Wallabies, because they played a very if you look at the individuals, they basically had an Oklahoma special, the 3 through almost 9, almost had all the mid-pack spots. It was a really close war up until the end, pretty much, and really until the second half. And this plus 40 doesn't tell the whole story either. There was a disconnect from the side of Tip. There was an almost couple big comebacks from the side of Tip as well. But MK Wall being able to show that they can compete without Greg, without V is really important here. Active dropping at 103 and really having that stronger mid-pack presence. I really do want to give a quick shout out to Jay Guzzi, who I think has been one of the breakout stars of this tournament. You've been seeing them play a lot more in this league, in this tournament, and they've really been making a good name for themselves, obviously coming from Tennessee, which had a very rough season last semester, but really getting to see them pop off is really cool to see. And obviously you have a lot of great names here. You have D-Mouse, Brad, Joe, Zoe, who are all, I think, very underrated players. But Jay Guzzi especially is like, off the top of my head, this is one of the players who I think really stands out from MK Wall. And this is a player, when you go into the fall season, the rest of the collegiate season, this is going to be a player you watch for and start to prepare for as we go to there. Shock Merchant Jay Guzzi, yep. But overall, MK Wall, one of the deepest teams in the league for a reason. That's the common theme that you will hear from the analysts, as well as myself, if you ever get to hear the casters talk about the prep card I give them. MK Wall is just very deep. You have runners beyond the runners, because you got Greg there, who can play so well in the front. Mr. Active skills so good up there as well. Vistoga, who brings so much experience. V also brings that kind of experience in the mid pack as well as the top spots. And then when you surround all those great players with the synergy, the coordination, and the team play of MK Wall, like just as a group, because you have, like, if you just look at their roster, look at how many players here just already in that, like, MK Wally's family, Wall, Brad, D-Mouse, Zoe, Jay Guzzi. Like, really, there's no significant weakness on the side of MK Wall. And right now they're 3-3, they're taking a bit to get together, but if you looked at super teams in the past, it sometimes take a while. Like, you can ask, like, I don't know, there's, like, very historic of a lot of LeBron teams, to be honest. Like, a lot of LeBron teams don't, like, start off good right. Yeah, MK Wall has 49 players, and, like, half of this group on this page is like MK Wallowies, pretty much. So they're winning in some capacity, no matter what. They have 3 teams. What do you expect? They had 2 teams with like 2 groups of like 20 players. To be fair, Angle, we have quite a few players too in our org, so they can't complain too much. Let's move on. Talk about 180-degree direction change. Just a nice pseudonym for U-turn. 180 had a great start to the season. They went 2-0 in the first week, and then they have lost 4 straight, which, unfortunate. Yet, I was gonna say, the teams that have the organizations that have 3 teams, we're just kind of chilling right now. We have like over 40 players combined on each team, so we're fine. We're fine. 180 has had a great start. I remember seeing these results because they had huge wins. Those were incredibly notable wins in that first week. You look at what happened here against Buns, and this really set the community on fire for a bit, because yeah, we knew Cam Reddish was great. Like, love Cam Reddish, like, as a player, as a person. Really love what they're able to do, bringing that from TTU and Metal. Dropping that 122, and then you have some like other great players here who are really stepping up. I was gonna say, yeah, this is a fun match to watch. I imagine this is great to cast. Golden with the 108 representing Oklahoma Lunar Lights. Green 97 UAH. Grounded Gaming. LeBob 80 now leading. I want to say he's one of the leaders of Volt Switch from the U-Turn family. Then you have Luffy from Maryland, Riffy from Drexel, now also a member of Grounded Gaming. Shoutouts to Riffy. The great thing about 180 is that they just came out of the gates swinging. A lot of great players. Like, this roster itself, underrated. Because remember, that's a game without super effects. And this was without Don't as well. Two of their first 3 picks. You got some extra depth as well from Eugene and Ghost. 180 has a very deep roster as well. Don't get that twisted. And obviously this is a Buns without Fate, but it's a 180 without super FX. So pick your poison there pretty much. And we saw that like, oh, 180's playing well. They beat MK Wall, which we just talked about too recently. And this gave a lot of great insight into how good 180 had the potential to be. We have 47? Let's go us. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of top LUs, and I think a lot of that is because a lot of the teams aren't bringing top LUs to every game. The fun thing is, like, about Summer Switchup, a lot of captains have opted. We're just gonna try and get as many players playing as possible throughout and try and spread out the playing time. It's a summer event, yes, and like, yeah, we want to win, but also it's a fun thing. You're meant to network, play with people you don't normally get to play with. Yeah, you see like MK Wall trying to get exact equal play time. I think other teams are trying to do the similar thing as well. I remember Short had like a spreadsheet also at some points for Buns. Yeah, because trying to bring balance. You see it a lot in leaders chat, which I know not everyone here can see, but they are trying, but a lot of teams trying to match like LUs to make it close matches. So it's fun. We don't always see the same teams bringing the same players every time. And you have teams like Tip who just bring all their players at once if they can. So, but yeah, it's really cool game to see the differences in playing. So it's obviously, if everyone brought the top lineup, things would probably look different. But I'm really happy that we do get to see a lot of players come in. Yeah, Bomb, I've noticed, was one of the teams that consistently brings like a lot of top LU when possible. Mostly just because, like, yeah, it's been hard to can for them. So hopefully we do get to see some other players. And like Mop, I'm really excited to see Mop come back. But overall, yeah, 180. Cam Reddish is one of the big stars that we haven't really seen in CKL. So really getting a chance to see Cam pop off has been really fun to watch, because you see with Super FX adds on the Cam really elevates the level of play that 180 has. Golden obviously doing what they can, Green as well had a great start, LeBob doing well, and Riffy adding the stuff that they needed as well. So this is overall, 180 was off to a great start. 2-0, they were riding high. If you look at any of the power rankings, just gonna like quick give like insight here. 180 at the top, 180 at the top, 180 at the top after week 1. LeBob had 180? Yeah, LeBob at 180. Rumble still at MKW, but like, after week 1, a lot of consensus was, okay, 180 is a force to be reckoned with. Cam Reddish, it has arrived. Super FX is still doing Super FX things, and you don't need me to glaze Super FX because Top Hat Bear will do it on comms for you, so... No shots fired there. Love Top Hat Bear. Top Hat Bear has been a really great caster, by the way, so happy about that. Happy to see Top Hat casting for CKL. But yeah, 180 had a great start to the season. Zay, I send out like a ping like every week about like updating the rankings. I think Ted Bear pinged you recently too. You can do whatever you'd like, Zay. You can update your rankings whenever you can, man. No rush. We got 2 weeks left still. Actually, yeah, if your analysts are in chat, there's no games happening for a couple days, so feel free to update your rankings going into week 4. Also, a lot of a bit of a off-topic thing, the write-ups from these power rankings have been great. I'm sad that many of you don't get to see it, but there's just been like, which was it? Someone had a really funny one. I know it's Astra, where, if I can find it. Oh yeah, Bomb's description from Astra was from the preseason power ranking was phenomenal. Green, goated. Super Fresh Boy, Steel at 9. FIU, perfect season. Depth, to the max as a pun on max, and then top 5 bunkers, 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 bunkers. It wouldn't be a CKL stream without mention of top 5 being bunkers, 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 bunkers. At some point we'll get these like written up for you guys, so maybe closer to the fall. But 180, great start to the season. And then the last 2 weeks have been rough, but also they haven't been bringing, like, a lot of the players have been like in and out, which love to see. So here they are against Bomb, only at 46. You see how super FX, but this is a team, remember, without Cam Reddish, who's been like their top scorer lately. Golden still playing well, Labob stepping up, Ghost inserted, did well, Eugene did well, and then Green, 180 Green. Had a rougher game, but Green's still a great player, so expect them to bounce back. We would just set up Green to run with it. I'll talk about them more when we talk about Bomb Merchants, because that's an interesting, like, I love the team construction there. Really want to get a chance to like analyze it deeper. 180 against F-. We'll talk more about this in the F- perspective, but yeah, even with some of the 180's better players coming in, you saw Cam play and have Super FX play. They only had Cam and Super FX only a couple times playing together. Green stepping up, Golden, rougher game. I don't know, had a rougher debut. Ghost coming in, doing well. Eugene doing well. Nola Bob, notably. And then Tip against 180. The slide just kept going for 180 after a bit. 22 after 6, 48 in second half against 180. Interesting. Okay. Okay. And yeah, you saw what here, where Tip sometimes will just have these crazy runs. You saw that with Top Hat Bear Spoon, and those tops are just hard to beat out. And then 180 just couldn't really keep up there, despite having a great lineup really on their end. No super effects once again, but like, it was insane here. So 180, on paper, they are still one of the best teams. I think here, like, I forget, I had like it written down somewhere where what my like projected rankings were, what my projections were supposed to be. I just can't remember on the top of my head. But now it's like 180. If you look at their ranking, they've been sliding. They've lost the last 4 games, but there's still 4 games that they can still win here. They could very well end up 6-4, and with how tight this is, really, if you finish near 500, you're fighting for that last playoff spot, and with interconference play still up for grabs, it's going to be interesting. Their next few matches will really be the story here if they can once again have that 180 degree turnaround, or are they just going to keep on sliding, maybe go towards the bottom division? I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on Gathers, who's available, as well as just seeing what ends up happening for them. Who is their last match in interconference play? They play King Crimson, notably. Okay, let's move on. F- is one of the more confusing teams to rank here, because their first like 2-3 matches were just only had 5 players, and that was just like a nightmare, like trying to figure this out, because oh look, here is this a bot for F-. They failed carding clause, no perfect attendance for them, but they have such great players on this squad. Notably, Cairo hasn't been around as much as you would like to see, but Karina evolved. Oh my gosh, their performance has been something. Like, it's been actually incredible to watch. Obviously, 5v5 table. Lemons Fox doing well still here. Sales. This is another name you want to like really watch out for. Rookie of the season from D2 of CKL. I think Sales is, especially with a solutionless Alabama in the future, Sales might be one of the names you really want to watch on the come up here. Especially now we're getting a lot of more experience in the summer. Sales is on my list as like one of the breakout stars. We already talked about Jay Guzzi, but Sales, oh my, yeah, Sales is really coming into one of their own. and that's really exciting to watch. Because I remember Solution talking to me about the sales progression. It's going to be like sales has been progressing so fast, and to see how they do here, like if you look at the individual sheet, like top 25 here, sales is averaging like 82. Granted, only 3 games, but like sales is putting up numbers, like putting up decent numbers on, and it's been really helpful because like F- really needed it. If you looked at how they drafted and projection wise, they were, and even now, F- is still near the bottom of most teams' power rankings, despite being leading their conference 3 weeks into the season. You know, look here. Where are we putting F-? Like 6, 8, 7, 6, 5th. And like I understand. I was admittedly I'm one of those people who've been underestimating F-, but there's just a lot of great things that they're able to do. There's a lot of good inward bike presence on this team. Obviously having Cairo and Toby. So you have those going for you. Just a lot of great players as well here. Lemons Fox adds so much great flexibility to a team that has so much strong front runners, but really, and Lemons can go across the order despite being known for their play in the front. Bo hasn't played as much either, but Bo has been really good in addition here. Dynamo, I think, is one of the more quiet additions to this team, really ever since they've been able to come back. I think Dynamo's presence has really elevated F-'s play. We talked about sales. Nick from FIU, another great player off the bench or when needed. Great stuff. And then Crazy and Lexkey, 2 players who haven't really been seen, like, period, in CKL as much. Crazy representing Nebraska and Lexkey being from Kutztown. I haven't really seen them as much in like in the spotlight, but it's really cool again to see them play here, especially Crazy, who's been really popping off for them in a very much needed step up. And F-, we used to talk about this, they've been putting up big numbers. Evolve / Scarina, this 144 against 180 is like legacy defining stuff here, because we saw them put up these numbers with Tennessee, but to do this now and to help contribute in a winning setting, massive. Just able to do so much for this team. You have Dynamo here, who, as just mentioned, 22 at the 6, 48 in the second half. Dynamo, of course, being the second half player we expect them to be, and really helping out so much for F-. This team as a whole has just been really good lately, and is, I think, one of the hotter teams, despite being in what's objectively seen as the harder conference. If they have momentum that they're carrying over into the last few weeks, there are a very scary team to watch. Now, obviously, they have some losses we want to talk about, but this is an interesting result. I do want to hear from, like, in chat from the Bomb players about what was going on here, because this was a close one, just looking at the results. And remember, Bomb winning their conference pretty handedly. F-, seen as more the underdog going here, only with a 22 loss. Really solid stuff from them. No Goji, big problem. Yeah, that is true. Goji's been stepping up. Like, oh my gosh, Goji's match recently, oh my lord. We'll talk about that when we talk about Baba Merchants. But really, the stuff F- is able to do here, you have Karina, Lemons, Bo, who's back, Dyna, Goat, Kusan, Dynamo, Nick, Crazy. It's a balanced team. They did such great stuff. 6 did great here. Oh, okay. 32 after 6, I finished at 99. Oh, I have heard this. Yeah. Yeah, Muumuu's dropping that. Yeah, we expect that. We'll see. We'll talk more about the Muumuu edition as we go into the Baba Merchants analysis. But F-, like, this is a team that's been underrated. I think they're still underrated at this point. But with the stuff they're able to produce, especially with the close result here, obviously not having the best player, not having Goji for Bomb, not having Cairo for F-, things are a bit different. But really, F-, the karting class, I think that's a team you want to watch out for in this last 2 weeks. If they stay around, if they keep it close, they have a shot to make playoffs, like a very realistic shot to make playoffs, despite how close everything here is. Guns! Now this is a fun team to talk about, because similarly, they had a huge start. They had an insane start. With a big 104 win against Cardi Class, granted with a 65, but it really showed like it showed the level of play you can expect from this team. Remember, this is without Fate, their prime pick, their ace. Short dropping at 135, Bagel coming in with a 120, Nova, Asa, Drip playing well, MC playing well, Cortifex also. That's like it's a very good group here. No Asian, yes. This is, Bun's top lineup is incredibly scary. We just haven't really seen it outside of, I think, the MKW game. With a couple of exceptions, obviously. And I think Buns is one of the teams that's like, their record really doesn't justify how good this team is. Because holy heck, they have some great players here. We talked about this loss against 180, but Bagel putting up those numbers... Bagel's second option is intimidating as heck. You have Short, who's still putting up great numbers, and once again, no Asian here, no Fates. MC playing well, especially here, good for them. Nova also dropping up great numbers. You look at what happened, like, on the power rankings, like, by the end of week 1, Buns is one of the more interesting teams to rank. I remember that. You saw them on the 3-4 spots, 2 at one point, 2 again from Labob, 4 from Rumble, so interesting stuff here. And yeah, Buns has been a very complicated team to rank. Because like they had some amazing highs, and then they have like some very like eyebrow-raising lows. Overall, it's a great team though. We just haven't seen them put together with like top lineup, and that's been the difficult thing with like everyone about really ranking any of these teams. It's because like who is being brought on any given day to these teams? Where's the results? There we go. There's match 3 against MK Wall. Fate makes that appearance. Short, Asian, JWT, no Bagel. So things could be different here with Bagel, and really because this is a great Buns lineup regardless. There's a lot of great players here, and having Fate, you could do so many great things with having Fate on your team. Like especially as the people who played ECRC 4s against Maryland, playing against Fate, it really changes a lot. Because like you can only do so much even with just one carry. Fate does so much more at the front than you can ever imagine. And then they lost. And then this is a very interesting result, the King Crimson versus Buns matchup, because yes, on Buns there's no Bagel, there's no Shorts, but they still have Fate, Asian, JWT, Albania. It's a court effects, so it's a solid lineup still from Buns. Yeah, but it really this loss hurts their stock. But King Crimson, just look at this result, a very balanced balanced lineup and production. See Astra, Delta, Cynical, Rhino all dropping over 93 at least. Rumble and Flight getting very important 8-10 placements here too. Sometimes we've been talking about this just with any like Oklahoma team, like this like group being able to just put up mid numbers is good, especially because that's kind of the counter to Buns. Like you have to you can only limit their running as much here, like as you can see with Fate. Oh, you can only limit them to 134, but if you're able to secure like these middle spots or even the seconds, that's good there. Maybe you realize Scooty is not for me. I don't blame you. I used to play Scooty myself, so I understand that. Rumble, that is the experience. You don't see Fate, but you know they're there. Fate in first is basically just like oxygen. You know it's there. You know you kind of need it in your life, but you'll never see it. And that's just the beauty of playing against Buns, because when they have it, if you're fast, you will. Well, yeah, I wish. I can't. I failed miserably in E64s. I could not do that against Fate. But really, Buns is one of the more interesting teams to talk about. Because look at here again. This was one of the Goji Legacy games, by the way. Oh my god. The 117 from Goji. Like, check this man for roids at some point. Because what were they doing before this game? And then you have, like, such as other great support pieces from Bomb coming in. This is such a great table for Bomb merchants. And Buns still, again, no bagel. Fate's still dropping insane numbers. Like, Fate isn't even leading, I think, individuals, which is insanity to think about. But it really also, Fate's only third for the 127. Green doing great numbers. We'll talk about Bomb next. It's either Bomb, I think it's Bomb next we're talking about. So, Buns overall, their record doesn't show how good this team can be. It's more so, will they be as good as we expected them to be? You look at their power ranking, like, it's divisive. It's incredible. You literally have a first, the best team potentially in the league, and the worst team in the league, and that makes sense if you look at their record. It's been hard to tell with Buns lately. I think with Dynamo, we might not see it. Yeah, Dynamo. Yeah, there you go, Dynamo. You're not there yet because I think just the individuals. I don't know how many games you played. It says 2. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's only like top half there. Dynamo, though, underrated player. We'll say that. Okay. Don't be surprised to see Buns make a run. It's just their time is limited, especially when they have to play against some pretty stacked teams. They have to play against MK Wall, who's getting high, 180, who's looking to get those big wins, and F-, who's going to try and cement their spot in playoffs. I have to see who their last matchup is. I think I know. Oh, they play the Crew next. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Okay. The Crew is another... That's a team to talk about when we get there. Holy. Yeah, you need to play 50% to be on there. So, by the end of this, actually... As long as you play 4, you're fine. Play 5 by the end of the season. Lava Merchants has been one of the more interesting teams here as well, because they've been playing relatively consistently in terms of like what we expect them to do, and their lineup has been very similar to what we expected to see here. About to get out of Conference A games. Oh my god, yeah, I can tell you that Conference B is happy to be out of Conference A games soon. You look at the bottom lineup, and I remember Greg especially seeing Green fall, was like, Green probably should be higher. And I'm like, yeah, Green falling to 5 worked out perfectly for Bomb. Really fits the mold of what they want to do here, and I love the construction. You talk about, I think I heard 6 talk about it earlier, where I won't lie, I was shocked to see Green fall to 5. I forget where I had them there. I think Green was like in my... I thought Green was going like 3 or 4, to be honest with you. I think one of the more interesting things here is, like, I love the construction. But Six was talking about this earlier, where Green just kind of does things, and then you have players who just do well to support up there. And the thing is, these are some amazing support staff. You can't have just, like... It's different when you have, like, supports, but then you have players who are just that good at doing the support stuff. 6 is one of the most underrated players in terms of their supporting ability, because 6 scores pretty high usually. But 6 has a great level of play and just game awareness to the point where they're just able to add so much in a 6v6 setting. I really like the Goji pickup this late. In fact, Goji is one of the better steals of the draft. If you look at where they are on individuals, it's insane. Bagel went so late. Bagel went like second round. Yeah, Bagel went second round. I thought Bagel was going to go first round, to be honest with you. But, hey, not complaining there. Goji being one of the biggest steals of like the draft, I think for now, was insane. What a pickup for them, really, the Baba Merchants. 17th right now. If you look at who Goji is scoring higher, it's actually incredible. Goji's better average than Lemons Fox from UNI, F minus, Zay from the crew, Angle, Gold Ends, Milkshake. Goji's stepping up at the perfect time. And you saw that really the results from Bomb, insane. Like, for the most part, they've been having just great results. They had a rough loss to the crew earlier in the season. It's because he bought a Pro Controller. Love that. Bit of a rougher loss here earlier in the season against Bowser's Big Crew. This was defined by some just great coordination, shot calling, and plays from the crew, leading to that plus 68 win. But since then, the Baba Merchants have been hot. This 136 from Green is only the start. 94 from Goji, only the start. And trust me, when that lineup gets cooking, it was something. This plus 134 against Tip. Yeah, you saw this in full display what Bomb is capable of here. Mop also there with one of their few matches. That's great. That's completely fair. Not first match, just not ready at all. Things just started to click here in the second match. I remember seeing this, and it was just straight up dominance really from the side of Bomb. Yes, granted, Tip didn't have Spoon, and the switch up strategy and the substitutions weren't exactly clean at the time yet either. But they really had a lot of like interesting things that went well, and Bomb just had some great stuff. Oh yeah, Fresh is a very underrated player. I remember it was Short talking about it in the draft, about how Super Fresh Boy going as late as they did was like a steal, because like Super Fresh is such a great player. He's, by the way, shameless plug, Super Fresh Boy is going to Riptide. If you want to go to one of the bigger lands of the year, please go to Riptide in Sandusky, Ohio this September. We'll be meeting up with a bunch of players from Kutztown and Georgia too, so that's gonna be really exciting. Also, you get to meet Super Fresh Boy who's going, so go. Bomb Merchants have been hot, like just insane. This against 180, this plus 46 win against Super FX, great. No goal, no cam, yes, but still a great result. Against Crane Crimson, you're seeing a lot of the similar stuff here. The Green's results, oh my, great. We knew how good Green was. Team USA, member of, let's say, 0 Hour now. I will say Green is apparently trialing other places, so exciting stuff to see that they're maybe a free agent. And Green is currently averaging a 134.8, and Green is also one of the few players to play all 6. Granted, that's a lot of that is because Bomb hasn't really had the lineup flexibility that they were probably hoping for, but it just goes to show how good of a team that Green has around. Because, like, think about it like this. You look at what Fate is doing on Buns, it's hard to replicate that really anywhere else. But it's hard to get better than that too. But Green is not only scoring high, but they have the support pieces around. You have like the Type Airs, the Super Fresh Boys, the Sixes, the Gojis, Franken when they were still there, now Moo, like insane. There's just so many good players on Bomb. Like just shout out the Star team. You have the entire top 5 here. Like what are you supposed to do? You have the entire top 5. Max as well. Like, that's an underrated player right now, who I think is going to be one of the bigger names to watch for in the next couple of years. And obviously, Super Fresh Boy, Mob, D-Rex. Great stuff overall from Bomb. I was gonna say, yeah, Max is like almost bronze too. And lately, Bomb has been the team in terms of like in the rankings. You see them just like start to make their way up there. Like, Bomb, a threat to win it all, allegedly. Currently leading the league in wins right now. Solid at the top of the rankings. Green is probably MVP at the moment. Bomb was at one point the sleeper team, yeah. Bomb has a ton of potential. The case for MVP. Like, overall, the stuff that Green is able to do is just insane. Yes, Green for sure right now is my pick for MVP. Obviously biased there, but like the scoring, the availability. Like, I'm really interested to see. I don't know if we will see it yet, but I would love to see a game from Bomb without Green just to see how different things are on that team. Because we know how good they are, but sorry. Sorry, I'll just respond to the message real quick. Sorry about that. Have to respond to like actual team stuff. Yeah, Bomb overall, this is a team that's only getting better, and I think that's a scary thing. They're in what's seen as the weaker conference, but you can't ignore just how well they've been playing, especially in their interconference matches. Like these results, they speak for themselves. Bomb against Buns, like the plus 68 against Fates, against Ace, against Short. Like we talked this. When you have players like Goji who are able to jump up like this, that's just incredible. And then you have the addition of Mumu, who really adds so much depth to a team that really has a lot of that going for them. At the moment, they're my pick to win Conference B, and I see them in the final spot for now. I don't know if they win it all yet. I think I want to see how the rest of the season shakes up, and who gets added to each lineup at this point. But I think Bomb is without a doubt one of the top teams right now. And also, this match gets F-. We talked about this, but when Green's able to just keep adding these like 140s, it's incredible stuff. And like, there's no like, this is another thing. Like, Bomb has no significant weakness. They have Green, who's able to just put up amazing numbers, and then they have arguably the best, some of the best like second round picks, or arguably the best second player here. Because like, you look around at like the top twos, mostly at this round, because at this point you're looking at like who's your second option. 6 is up there as one of the best second options. You have also Cam, Bagel, but 6 is really up there as just putting such great work in for this team. Let's move on. Talk about King Crimson. King Crimson is another team whose record I think is not exactly reflective of what they're able to do here. Because you look at King Crimson's results. They're 2-4 on the season right now, but with some decent wins. This is a win against the Crew. Granted, this was Actually, no, this was a good game. I remember this. This was close. This was a very close game from both sides. Delta dropping that 130, Astro with the 104, Fly 78, Rhino 76, Rumble 71, Noah 40. King Crimson, as a team, they haven't really had, like... What am I gonna say? They haven't had a lot of production, really, outside their tops. But when their tops are on, they are insanely great players. Delta is, right now, one of the... It's like top 4, top 5, I think, against... I think, alright, top 5, I think, like now. Yeah, Delta is like 4th in Indivs at the moment. And it really shows just the experience they have from formerly Dynamite, now Dreamland. Delta really offers a lot here. It's going to be exciting to see what they do then. And now, like, really, from the side of King Crimson, it's just really seeing what can they do around Delta. I think, a big thing with King Crimson is just consistency, because this team, we know there's so much potential here. Pulled shot glass race to break up the piece. I remember that. I remember that shock. That was just insane. Delta's been doing well. It's been cool, yeah. Now, Crimson, I remember seeing this, and I'm like, oh, this is a team. This team's looking good. And especially, like, this is a great lineup from the crew. Zay, Nick, Milk, Fitchy, Luna, Creo. Not Zay on his knees in another store, crying. Crimson War. Then this war happens, and then I won't lie to you, this was the bigger thing for on the end of Crimson. It kind of showed like their arguably one of their bigger weaknesses, which is their consistency. But because we know Delta can perform, can score high. Astra had a rough game. Rhino, a rough game. Rhino was also tired because I'm pretty sure they had MKU that was the same day as MKU finals, so it could, yeah, at that point it could have just been getting gassed out by a really stressful match. That went all 3. Congratulations, by the way, to MK College winning MKU. Taika having it rough. Yoshi and Fly also having it rough. Smooth Clear's end of analysis go next. We'll talk about that more as I go into when we talk about Tip. Not to give too much insight, but I know that from the end of King Crimson, I think mental game is one of their more inconsistent aspects as well. I won't lie to you, a certain player on their team is known to be like, is known to tilt or rage or whatever like that. So because of that, if you just get to that player, you can kind of go and you can kind of play against King Crimson. And it's a team, like, if you just get ahead early, King Crimson is a team that doesn't always have that comeback mentality in them. So if you just have a good first half, it really gets to them. So it's really about how do they perform in that first half. Because when Crimson does well, they do great things. Obviously, this game against Apollo Merchants doesn't tell the whole story either, because they had Cynical for 7 races, but they also had no Delta. So difference there. It's gonna be interesting when they play again, because they beat Buns in a really interesting result, which we talked about earlier. Yeah, Zay, we know Zay. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it on stream, but yeah, we know. But like, if you look at this table, it shows a lot of what Crimson is capable of doing when they are able to put up these like this results where they have their big impact presence. Because look at, like, if you look at how King Crimson is constructed, the core of their team is built around UCSD and Oklahoma. 2 of the teams, really, just the California schools and like Oklahoma especially, are like teams that have like the stronger like middle pack presence, as well as just being able to control like the individual games. Like, we won't get back spots. That is where King Crimson will thrive, because Delta will score for them, yes. Rhino can pop off. Cynical, when available, is a very good player. Astra we know can perform, Rumble, Taika, Flight can all perform. Noah's a great support piece coming from the Michigans. Yoshi 90 from Iona is great too, and Tangerine, happy to see them make their like CKL debut here too. This is a team like they don't necessarily have the star power that some of the other teams have. Delta's great and is currently doing amazing on the individual rankings, but like Delta can. You can counter. There are ways to counter Delta that we know about. So, meanwhile, it's just the rest of them. How does Astra stack up? How does Rhino stack up here? Does Rumble, Taiga also step up? And do they have these like great like games? Flight as well here. Like there's so many great players. It's just can they make things click? And really, when they click, it does great. We've talked about this already before, but this 2-4 record could easily go in other ways. It's just, can they keep winning against these teams, or can they get back in the win column? I think one more win will do them great. If they steal a win against 180, that's going to do very well for them. Or who else do they play here? They play Tip again, too. Okay. We'll go a bit into predictions now, or go a bit into the analysis. Not only mathematically, but I think that whichever game Crimson plays first is a must-win for their playoff hopes. Not only because of the math and needing like to stay alive in the standings, I think a win does wonders for their momentum. So if they play Tip first, they get momentum and win, that's big. Same thing if they play 180. As long as they win the first of these two games, they have a shot. It's just they need to get that win. Yeah, Bomb last match is brutal, but hey, getting momentum early in one of these two games will be big for them. It's just, can they get that? Because this is a team, they have the potential. There is so much possible for this team. It's just, can they seal the deal? Can they lock in with these last 2 weeks? Not saying it's not possible. You saw the highs of Green Crimson, and while their power ranking I think is kind of falling at the moment, because currently they're at 6th, falling from 5th. There is so Pinocchio, you have potential. Oh my god! I think it's all up to Crimson now. It's if they want to make a run, they have to win at least the first game, the first of their next 2, and then ideally win the second game. If they are going in with an only neat potential record of 5-5 going into week 5, then it's probably over. But one game at a time for them. If they're able to get there, it's a shot. No coaching. OU dropping 100 on OU players. That's true. Goji has a tendency to do that. Okay. Now here's the team that's probably the most difficult to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about. Tip of the Ice World. Now this is a complicated team to discuss because of you've all seen it by now. The swap-ins, the substitutions, the actual like NBA style rotations where you like, okay, players are gassed, throw in the sharpshooters off the bench, throw in the 3-and-D guys now just to get those extra points. Those like clutch players at the end. That's what we need here. Tip of the Ice World deploys one of the most like interesting and one of the more revolutionary, I think, play styles here in terms of team construction. It's also fun to watch here because from the draft, you could tell what Tip was doing because of how they're constructing their team. Spoon is heralded as like the greatest team-based player in the CKL community. You have Top Hat Bear, Rookie of the Year from Division 1, really able to show in such a short time they're one of those breakout stars. Then you had Mark Coco, now Steamy, great bench player, great player who's able to add those extra points. Look to Fate, what did we miss? We talked a lot about how Buns, I think, has a great chance to make a run. Fate is obviously just a great player here. I said Fate's bad. I wish I could. If I was even like 10% of the skill that Fate has, I would be such a better player right now. But nah, Fate's play is like so much. Plus, I can't be mad at Fate too much. I was a Royal Flush fan like a year ago. So, on tip, Dynamo would drop 35 and 6, and Spoon would tap me on my shoulder and tell me to log out. Dang, doing that on 70 pace? Oh, that's rough. Tip, though, you look at this. It's like, and then you have look at this. We knew Angle's a great player in the front. Their front running is their best ability. The Baja is a great support player as well, great for more team morale, chemistry, and stuff like that. Luxatone and Stingray, huge players here. I won't lie to you, Stingray, we'll talk more. One of the more breakout players here as well. Then Sunset, Anomaly, Jack, all bringing those great role players. This is a team that's really surrounded just by great role players. And then just seeing, and when it works amazing. It takes a while. It doesn't happen all the time. We saw what happened against Baba Merchants, who is also, I think, just a big counter in the style for Tip of the Ice World, because you have players like Green, Six, and more importantly, Six and Goji from the side of Baba Merchants, who are able to support their tops. Is this VOD being saved? It should be saved. I'll publish it afterwards. I also have it recording right now, so worst comes to worst, this will be uploaded at some point. We'll be streaming probably for like another hour and a half or so, so fine, feel free to talk more. Anyways, Tip struggles breaking into the enemy support tops. With at least that's what's been their general theme lately, where if a player like Green is able to run away and they have good supports like Six and Goji, then Tips will struggle there, because Tips playstyle is kind of supporting that mid pack, really just winning on team play. But if there's an enemy runner who's just getting away too much, then that's where they kind of struggle. And you saw here the strategy just wasn't all in there at the point. But they had that great win against King Crimson, which really changed a lot of things for them, really added a lot of momentum for this team, and we're secretly one of the hotter teams going in to like the next few weeks. The return of Spoon was also massive. We talked about this before. Chat talked about this a lot. The analysis is they have Spoon, and then boom, just drops like this kind of performance, and that is incredible. Spoon is like the perfect player to add for this team. And then having Ray, Luxie, Angle all supporting, great stuff there. Top Hat, 50 and 6, huge. Anomaly, Sunset, Marcoco all doing great stuff as well. This was just a great war overall for Tip of the Ice World, really showing that there's a lot of great stuff for this team in potential. I missed a lot here. Where are their wars? I can go in their server if need be, but I'd rather not yet. The crew. This war was interesting. It was most of a 6v5 for the most part, but a win is a win. This is a war without Top Hat Bear. I also Spoon and Road Rage and bought the PSP bundle. Actually, yeah, kinda. I guess that is how that worked. It was a 65 for the most part, but hey, a win's a win. Spoon and Angle dropping great numbers. This is a big breakout game for Luxatone. Amazing 107. And Ray with the 88. Ray in the first half of the season, one of the best, like, underrated players. I think Ray was one of the bigger steals of the draft coming from where they were. And really just seeing their performance there, it's honestly amazing to see how much that Ray has been able to do for this team. And Marcoco, Baja, Sunset, all adding great stuff as well for this team. Yes, the 6v5 is going to shape up for a really interesting result, but remember, this is a Tip without Top Hat Bear, and this is with them really just trying to like make the most out of their like strategy, which has gotten a lot cleaner over time too. They had a couple rough losses lately, though. This is an example of just like Where I think Tip struggles again, it's against teams like Buns, teams like Bomb, who like there is a great runner, there's a great number one option, but their second and third, or at least their second, are hard to break through. Fate then being supported by Bagel is a bit of a nightmare for Tip, especially because this is one of the bigger sub games here. I think this was the really complicated sub game for Tip, where they were putting in like a new player or two, like at the end of race 4, at the end of race 6, and going into race 9. So it was a bit more awkward there. They're trying to figure out those like massive subs still, but we'll see if that works out for them. But overall, it's like they have the harder time just breaking through the enemies who have like those stronger cores. Like they can, like, honestly, Tip is built to dispatch like Fate by themselves. Fate Bagel Asian Shorts is a bit harder though, because now you have to worry about those great secondary options and the great third fours who are able to really make things rough, especially on Tip, because like the third and fourth option from Buns in this situation are able to just kind of minimize the impacts of 3 through 6 on the side of Tip. I will say I love whenever Tip is able to get that whole roster in a single match though. It's like legitimately like one of my favorite things to see here. Granted, I did help I played a small part in helping develop this substitution thing, but like it's really cool seeing it in action. Because like, yeah, look, you get all 10 players. That's so awesome. It really makes me happy just seeing like, okay, you're really taking the summer switch up thing to its heart. Seeing all these players come in, get a chance to get some playtime. And then against MK Wall, there was some net issues that prevented a switch out here, which is sad. But this was a close result up until like a few races here. Summer switch up narrative is already in motion. In finals, they're subbing out Spoon for Sunset last GP, and Sunset gets first 4 times. If Sunset getting a perfect GP to win finals would be one of the greatest things ever. I need a CKL documentary on that when it happens, because that especially, and I need an interview from Dynamo, who prophesized the entire thing today on June 21st, 2024, because that's a legendary thing if that happens. I would love to see it happen. I'm sure Ted would enjoy it. Unless it happens against Bomb, I don't think then Ted would enjoy making that video. But otherwise, yes, I do expect Ted to be very happy making that video, because that would be such a story. But here, this is from the Tip perspective. The MK Wall versus Tip War was very different from what we expect from this team. In fact, you kind of expect the opposite in individuals from both sides here. Top Hat Bear, legacy game, 123, Spoon 110. Just if like we're watching the stream, like, oh my lord, the stuff Spoon was doing to maintain first, that was insanity. Luxie had a rougher game, Angle had a rougher game, Ray had a rougher game, and Sunset had a rough game though. And that's just really interesting because like typically Tip will control those more like middle pack spots instead of like the top spots, which they were going. And yeah, the Brad Joe bomb, I saw that bomb and I'm like, what was that? That could have changed everything. That actually could have just changed everything had that bomb not connected, because like Tip was like top 5. And then yeah, Spoon with like a 1v4, I want to say it was like a royal. That was scary. But yeah, MK Wall just had that strong core, and that's really where Tip, I guess, it struggles there. Because while Tip is great on team play, it's team play that's kind of meant to be just to take out like a certain number of enemies. Tip is great at like overpowering like and outnumbering in the pack. kind of like that pack mentality. Like, if you leave it up to a 3v3, then Tip struggles there. If you leave it to if Tip has the advantage in the pack though, 3 against 2, that's where they shine. It's just like, can they get into that spot? Because here, Top Hat and Spoon, yeah, they were top 2 a lot. They had Top Hat had a really great game, and Spoon also had some great stuff. It's just more so, can Tip put the pieces together in the mid pack more consistently? When it's there, it's there. They have great runs. Great games, and we saw some amazing stuff. You saw them have a top 6 the other night. It's possible, and they're in a playoff. They're right outside the playoff hunt right now. They're 3-3 on the season, but it's possible. It's just things have to go their way, and that's going to be the more difficult thing. But don't be surprised if Tip makes a run to sneak into the last spot of playoffs. And now we have the crew. Bowser's big crew. Now, if you notice the projections, they are projected last by every analyst, I'm pretty sure. Maybe every analyst but one. But it was like 8th, 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 7th, 8th, 8th. And it was like, the reasoning why, it wasn't because of skill. We all remember that, we all look at this roster, this is a scary good roster. It wasn't because of skill, it was just because we weren't sure they were going together. The storyline was, we knew Nitro was absent. Nick, we weren't sure if he was going to be available to play much. Shout out to Nick for the production, by the way, like on CKL streams. The production quality from the CKL stuff, and huge shout out to all of our commentators, other hosts, Angle, Bob, for like really helping us elevate the quality of the CKL streams. Because, oh my lord, the production stuff has been insane. It's now just a matter of like, can they keep this going? Because like, they have some great possible things here. Wisp been in Italy. We know that Creo is going to be around sometimes. We got BBC, yeah. Luna's been great, 0-1. And then Creo, Fitchy, all these players have been doing great in their return when they've been able to be there. It was just, we weren't sure if they were going to be there, which is why the projections were so low. I think if we looked at the roster outside, if we knew they had full roster all the time, then they were going up into like the mid spot. I think I had them like 5th in my projections. And then they got Zach. The undrafted free agent, because of they needed a sub. To get Zach as your sub, that's insane. Like, let's be honest, guys. Zach is not a last round pick. Not in the slightest. Zach arguably goes like round 3, round 2. Actually, yes. I would, nowadays, current Zach, I would reasonably take round 2, early round 3. Like, phenomenal pickup. Like, if you want a glow up, like, I'm going to disqualify Zach from the draft steals list because Zach wasn't drafted and should not be considered a last round pick. Do you see where Zach is? Zach is top 10 on Indibs. That's insane. Like, the amount of growth this player has is incredible. Zach is reaching higher level soon. Like, if you look at the future of CKL, really the future of like low-div MK, Zach is one of those names you really gotta look out for, because that's a player who's doing wonders and it's going to make that team they're on just insane. I love to see that Zach has gone into such a great player here. Yeah, exactly. Zach was a free agent acquisition. It's like, didn't get my papers in on time. I have to go as a free agent. Wasn't able to declare for the draft, but hey, I'm a free agent now. Or No, Zach is a free agent player that they got from like Europe. Wasn't able to declare for the draft, didn't have the papers, or like what was it? One of the 2K games, you start off in China or something like that. Zach is like that is that free agent picked up as on the rookie deal from like China or Europe. I already had that experience of playing with like the pros, and definitely better than the last round pick. It was yeah, that's what I thought. And it's been a while since I played 2K, like actual story stuff. But getting Zach here, insane. And like my favorite thing is like the way the crew is set up. 1-year deal wants that extension. Yeah, it's so true. I haven't seen like Zach is playing also like those players in like 10-day contracts, trying to get that deal to stay around. Yeah, top 5 played Zach Luna. Yeah, there's so much great stuff in the side of from that side of like PCSD. So my favorite thing about the way the crew is assembled is that there's like, yes, you have there's a lot of number 1 options at some point here. Zay, Milk, Creo, but then you add on like, arguably this team is like built on like number 1 and number 2 options. Wisp at one point was like one of the best players on OG Peach State Patriots. You have Zach, who's quickly emerging as one of the top options on UCSD. Nitro, a phenomenal player from Oregon. Then you have like Nick, who is like, how do I put it? Not a CKL version of Spoon or Ignanda, because very similar in how Spoon plays. Nick really elevates, despite that graduated. Yeah, I wanted to be hopeful for a bit, but Zach and like that's why it's like I knew that the CKL scene Zach wasn't going to be there, but in low div, Zach's going to be interesting there. I do need a record of like everyone who graduates because I always get tripped up on like who's able to like who graduates and whatnot, because we gotta have to start keeping track of that by next season. It's a shame though. Zach is only getting better now. It's gonna be fun to see what they do in the next few MKUs. So, the crew. We have Nick is their top player in the sense that like Spoon is for Tip, where you have like that very great team option who really elevates them on comms. The crew, yes. I try to. Let's be honest. I try to avoid the acronym at times, because I'm reading chat. I know what some people are saying here. I already see it. So on my own stream, sure, but on CKL stream, I have to be kind of professional here. So sorry, guys. It's also a nightmare to commentate for the crew sometimes because it's like, okay, I can't use their like abbreviation all the time. Yeah, and Bowser's Big Crew is hard to like say a bunch of times really fast. It's like. But like the way the crew has been playing, this win against Bomb's only. Yeah, I know it was Nitro too, which is funny. This win against Bomb, it showed everything. Yes, this was Bomb when they were like no 6, as well as like they weren't ready yet, allegedly, but they weren't just prepared. But this was a big win. It just shows how much does Nick elevate the play of the players around him, especially with Zay and Zach. Luna played well. Milkshake is there. Fitchy as well in the back. Fitchy pulled crazy shocks also for them. This loss against Crimson was tight, but it showed that there's still a lot of potential for this team. Really, they could have won this. The crew could be 5-1. It's insane here. They very well could have been 5-1 by now. And then you have Zay playing well, Milk, Fitchy stepping up in points, Creo, Luna playing from the back, and then Nick there too. All doing well, and this is a very close result. They can very easily win this in the rematch. The match is hard practice. felt that. This tip result, this was closer than it looks because this is a 6v5 or 5v6 from the side of the crew. They did have Pitch for the last race, but hey, Baby Rosalina. That Baby Rosalina bot though, I've heard stories. That bot was a menace to the point where we had players looking at the in-game rivals because, like, if you don't know, Baja plays Rosalina, and like, the Baby Rosalina forces out a Baja switch, which is like hilarious. But hey, those bots are a menace. But Nick able to put up those numbers. Zay able to produce. Zach able to produce. 0-1 Milkshake also doing well for this team. Really been interesting to seeing what the crew is able to do here, even though the 6v5. Decent result for them. But since that point, they were 1-2 on the season. Then it's just like, oh, win, win, win. Result against F-. Obviously, at this point, this was not the greatest F- lineup objectively, but I remember, yeah, you were winning after 4 against Tip. Fishy 5-12. Nah, we can't do that to Fitchy. Fitchy's the only reason I'm even able to log into this Twitch account, so. But from this result, result is important because one, but there's a few things. One, Nitro is back. 2, Milkshake returned to form, and then Zach arrives in like full stride. That 134 was insanity. Really putting Zach on the map and is one of the best players in our scene here. I love to see what Zach has been able to do. And then they play against... what was their next match? This super tight match against MK Wall. Granted, no Greg from the side of MKW. But there's also no Zach from the side of the crew. You know what, scrims? Yeah, some teams are better on scrimming than others. It's just how it goes. So the crew here, without Zach, they beat MKW without Greg. So now is interesting. Very close result. And this is just showing how good this team is. Especially with Zach there. The crew, like, the odds are in their favor to make it in the playoffs. Showing here what they can do here. Yeah, no Zach, no Fitchy, no Wisp. When Wisp makes his play, it's gonna make things very interesting for this team. Because, like, the crew doesn't have like a big weakness either. There's like, granted, it's like, because they have like a team of like number 1 options and number 2 options, there's no like really true hard carry on their side in the same way that like Bomb has Green, for example. But it's a team that's really great on coordination. It's like really good at front spot coordination is where they seem to thrive. And I think because of that, really, that's where the crew is able to win out against these teams. By just able to control the upper spots. Like, not just the mid spots, it's the upper spots. Nick Carey Buzz. Yeah, shout out to Nick from Buzz. Shout out to Buzz as a whole. Buzz OF grounded. It's close win against 180. I think one thing that really shows here is that the crew wins the close games. That is going to be very important because, as we were noticing, a lot of these results have been very close. So if they're able to keep clutching out these like these wars that are going down to like 20 points, that's going to be massive for them, especially as we approach the last few weeks. You're seeing Nick do well here as expected. Zach putting up these amazing numbers as well. Milkshake returning. Zay doing what they have to do. And Luna and Creo just doing what they got to do. Overall, it's shaped up for a really interesting team here. The fact that, like, yeah, the free agent acquisition is leading their team and individuals. Also, shout out, by the way, for the last spot in third team Summer Switchup is a tie between Lemons and Zay. They literally have the same number. They have the same average. Kind of crazy. Granted, Zay has played all 6, and actually, if you look at it from their side, the crew has been, I think, a bit more so because of the fact of availability from their team. They haven't really been able to, like, alternate players as much either as, like, other teams have. It's a very similar situation to, like, Bomb. You do often see Zay, you see Nick. You don't see them, like, rotating players all the time, but because they really have a consistent group playing. So that helps them a lot, obviously, going into the next few weeks. Speaking of, we got 2 weeks left. 4 matches for each team. A lot is on the line here, especially when you look at what matches are left. Starting off, we got the last set of interconference games. Interconference, right? Interdivision, same thing. Crimson 180. How both these teams, this is like a must-win. This is a must-win for both teams because, like, 180, oh, actually, yeah, they're the same record. Both these teams need momentum. I remember talking with LeBob after we casted recently. It's like, to get in, to have a shot at playoffs, it starts with this matchup. I don't know when this matchup gets played, but because I doubt we're playing matches tomorrow also. But for one side of 180, this is, especially with Conference A being as stacked as it is objectively, they need that match. They need that match. Okay, Crimson, desperate to get back in the win column. They've shown that they had the potential to do so. They've had 2 very good wins. It's just, can they put it all together to stay in contention here? A loss for the losing team here, it's a long climb to a playoff spot in the wild card. I don't know if it's even possible for them either without some extra help. So really, to keep their playoff hopes alive, a must win. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't think we have a bye week after playoffs, so it would be the week of July 7th. Like, the July 7th through the 13th, I think it would be like semis, and the week after would be finals, so the 14th until the 20th. Yes, because the last regular season matchup is the 29th of June. Oh, wait, 29th of June. Okay, so never mind. It'll be like, yeah, June 6th to July 6th until like the 13th, 12th would be like semis, and then up until finals, so like 14th to the 20th. Obviously, we're trying to get those like streamed, especially playoffs. We want all those matches streamed. Might get some like high level captures. Ooh. Hope you enjoy your trip, man. Hope you're able to play too. It's if you're able to, because that'd be really cool. But would love to see you play. But hopefully you enjoy your trip, Zach. I feel like I have something going on early July too, but I'm not too sure. I will say, shameless plug while I debate what I'm going to say for this Tip of the Ice World IFL Carding Class matchup. Shameless plug again. Go to Riptide. If you're in the Philly area, go to Broad Street Bar tomorrow. Also, if you happen to be in the Philly area next week, I'll be at Too Many Games on Sunday. So I doubt anyone's going to that convention, but hey, I'll be there. Anyways, Tip of the Ice World, I failed carding class. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because they're tied at the same record. Well, we know who Zay's rooting for. I think a lot of it depends on lineup. I know this one's not happening tomorrow because I think 4 of the 40% of Ice World is in Philadelphia tomorrow, so that's not happening tomorrow. I think it's happening on like Tuesday-ish, maybe next week. The reality is, this one is very dependent on who is brought by F-. Because if we're being honest here, Tip, you just expect that Tip is going to have every single player available. So, because that's pretty much just how it is. You're going to see them sub in, sub out, but Tip will likely have anywhere from 7 through 9, maybe 10 players available. I don't know if they'll all play, but there's a good chance there's multiple people coming in. So it's very hard to prepare for it on their end. But from karting class, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting from the karting class of what they're going to be able to do here. Because, like, you know what they're capable of. You've seen Evolve drop that 144. You've seen Cairo do Cairo things. Sales is on the come up as well. Lemons Fox is doing great stuff for that team. There's a lot of great names from the karting class. But Tip the Ice World, some of those players are on a mission pretty much. Top at Bear, dropping insane in divs. Spoon is top 5 in individuals, despite being a team player overall. And you never know which sharpshooter off the bench is gonna start coming in clutch in race 7 and on, or race 9 if they decide to delay their switch. But it's gonna come down to whatever lineup is brought. Don't be surprised if Tip wins this. I'm gonna give the slight edge to karting class for now. Obviously, that changes based on lineup. It will very much change in the lineup. But objectively at the rosters, I will give this very slight edge. It's like a 52-48 in favor of karting class for now. But if their lineup changes, that's gonna easily be 60% in favor of Tip. So we'll see what happens here, depending on lineup. The crew Buns, another similar story. If Buns brings out the top players, I think Buns wins. I think it'd be cool to see the crew sweep Conference A. Especially because the crew has brought a very similar lineup every time. But if you see Short decides, okay, look who's available. We got myself, Bait, Bagel, Asian, JWT, Nova, Asa, Jalapeno. If they have the big guns bringing in, I will say I think Buns should be favored depending on their lineup. But if the crew wins, it's not a surprise either. Very slight edge to Buns MK here. And then Baba Merchant's MK Wall. Now this is another one that's really interesting here because we don't know who is being brought from MK Wall yet. Go Buns MK. I think we might see a couple of different players from Baba Merchants come out this week. Could be wrong, at least that's what the rumors are saying. Greg B and active. Oh yeah. I will say, I have a feeling we might see the big 3 from MK Wall come out. And if that's the case, I would give the edge to MK Wall. But I feel like right now, based on what we've seen gathering-wise, and just recent results, I'm going to give the edge to Baba Merchants. I think there's just too much strength in that upper echelon of their lineup. The support Green has, having Six, having Goji, having even players like Max, Bonkers, Ted Bear, Super Fresh Boy, Moo Moo now. There's just too many good names on the Merchants to really just discount them. And I think we will give the edge to Baba Merchants here. It's really rare. I don't think picking against MK Wall is normally a safe idea, but I really think that Bomb pulls this one out. I don't know if that's... I think that's a bit of a potential playoff matchup we might see. A little glimpse into that, which would be really exciting. But we'll see what happens. Now, the inter-conference matchups. This one, I don't know what. This is hard as well. because there's a lot also to consider here. 180 Buns. 180 pulled this out last time. Buns now has Fates. We haven't really seen Cam and Super FX play. We haven't seen the core of Buns all play at once either too much. Let's go with... This one's a toss-up. I think this depends on how well the Super FX and or Cam play. More likely Cam. Like, if Cam is able to put up a monster game against Buns, then I think 180 can win this. But right now, I'm still leaning Buns. Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Buns here. It's obviously lineup dependent, because really, both these teams have played a lot of their players recently, so it's really hard to tell. But I think objectively, I want to go Buns here. Karting Class, while Karting Class did win the first matchup, it was a 5v5. If Cairo plays, then things become really interesting. I really want to thank MK Wall here against the runback, though. I think they're just... Now, the way MK Wall is playing is way better than they were earlier this month. So I think MK Wall takes it against Karting Class and then takes the division here, too. Or takes the conference here, to be more specific. Or takes control of the conference. Crimson Ice World... It depends. Does Crimson play okay? Is this competitive Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Yes, this is competitive Mario Kart 8. Well, yes, this is. Not gameplay right now, but this is the Collegiate League. We're doing a bit of a summer tournament here, mixing and matching players from all across the US and Canada together onto like different teams for the summer. Oh yeah. Cup Mario Kart 8 is very small in comparison to like the other Nintendo esports. I would say both Smash and Splatoon are bigger, but it's a very loyal scene here, very dedicated. If you want to check out some stuff, we have some collegiate matches here on our Twitch channel. You can also find us on Collegiate Karting League on YouTube, or you can look at Mario Kart Central. That has a lot of the big time matches, not only the FFAs, the free-for-all majors that you'll see at like MomoCon that are in person, but also a lot of 6v6, which is what I'm going over right now. So yeah, if you want to get more interested into the scene, we have a lot of great people here who can help, who could like give you some more information. This is all about the collegiate Mario Kart side right now, but we also have a lot of connections with Mario Kart Central, the overall hub of like competitive Mario Kart. Not so shameless plug. I'm on the collegiate channel. I can't do that right to myself yet. Yeah, of course. Happy to see you, Matt Rath. Yeah, right now we're just talking about like the projections for our collegiate summer league here. So thank you for that. By the way, my name is Spicy. I am one of the analysts for the league here. Happy to see new people here in chat. Chat, be nice. Not trying to scare people away yet. If I hear some crazy things in chat, I'm gonna be very disappointed. Okay, so King Crimson, the Japanese tag, against Tip of the Ice World. This comes down once again to, I think it's actually going to come down to the battle up front, which is very similar to what happened last time. Being nice is hard enough. It's hard enough. Yeah, I understand. You guys are great. King Crimson is great. How can they support Delta? Meanwhile, it's interesting here how does Spoon from Tip support the rest of their squad. It's kind of like a bottom-up versus top-down matchup here, which is a really interesting dynamic. Not something you typically see on either side. But because allegedly the thing here is that Tip is not great at driving for some reason. I'm not gonna say who said that, but apparently Tip is not the strongest driving team, but they're just really lucky with items. Not gonna say that's true or not, but I will say Tip is a very great team-based team. It kind of acts as a good counter and a very good matchup against King Crimson, and so it's not more of King Crimson. Can they eliminate the players on Tip who get hot? Meanwhile, from Tip, can they keep the players on King Crimson from getting hot? So it's like, it's a very interesting dynamic here. I want to lean towards Ice World because I think Ice World has another thing up their sleeve. They already have the crazy substitutions. I don't know if they're going to swap in as many players as they will for this game, but I think Tip wins this for a couple other reasons, so you never know though. It's an interesting thing here. I really like the matchup. I think this is going to be one great rematch. Baba Merchants, Bowser's Big Crew is another great matchup here. I don't know, honestly, because Baba Merchants have been playing really hot. I think it's hard for me to go against Bomb right now, just because of how well they've been playing as a unit. Not only do they have Green, member of Team USA, but is it untested matchup? Yes, in the sense that this is a very different Bomb than we saw in Week 1. And the crew is it's also going to have a very different lineup. Yeah, we might see Wisp soon. We might see Nitro in this game. It's a very different group, so I don't know here. And I hate to be that guy. I hate to give the same cop-out answer, but it really does depend on the lineup. Because we've been seeing different lineups from a lot of these teams. Bomb and Crew have been very similar from what they've had, but it's got very different groups still now from Week 1 because new additions. We see Moo Moo, who's from Baba Merchants, who added to that team instead. The crew now has other players who are coming back or now playing better than they were before. Milkshake's been playing hot lately. So I hope this one's on prime time. I won't lie to you. Like, this is a great matchup. I really hope we get this one streamed. And then, okay, I have like 15-20 minutes until I have to go. I did not realize I'm running out of time. So, we will kind of speed through these next few picks. And some like general playoff stuff. MK Wall 180, okay, let's be honest. It's going to be dependent on lineup once again. I think MK Wall, if 180 is playing well, I think they can win. Okay, I think they have to be playing well in the games leading up to this one, though. I don't think a cold 180 will beat MK Wall right away. I think MKW should be favored here. You have Greg, Active, V, as well as the core of like Jakuz, Jguzzy, Brad, Wallies. So many great players from their side. I think MKW should be favored, but if 180 has momentum, especially if 180 gets into it early, I think they can win this. Buns Karting Class is another great matchup because I think this game might determine a playoff spot. Karting Class is 3-3 on the season so far. Buns 2-4 on the season, but with the match, with what I think is going to happen in Week 4, I think Buns is going to shape up to be a threat, and I think they might have the same record going into Week 5, which is very interesting here. I'm a lean. Actually, I don't know right away. It will depend on lineup. Again, is Cairo gonna play? Are we going to see Fate? Are we going to see Bagel play? This is one of the most lineup-dependent matchups possible. I think if you bring top one from each side, it goes towards Buns, unless you see another monster game from Evolved/Karina from I Failed Karting Class, from their captain. If you see another 144, anything's possible. Tip Baba Merchants. Now, Baba Merchants, I've mentioned before, is just a big style counter towards Tip of the Ice World, where Baba Merchants has the 1 and a strong 2-3. Tip preys on a team that really has a good 1, or a 2 and 3 that aren't playing as well. So as long as the second and third option from Baba Merchants are playing decently, they should be able to win that. But if Tip gets things going, because I will admit, Tip is very much a team that is defined by what they do in their first half. If they have a great first half, then things get really interesting because the switch up makes things really complicated for the other team. It's a bit more of an intimidation strat at that point because you're like, okay, what's lately been happening, I don't know if this is going to continue, but the top half of the best players in terms of scoring get saved for races 7 through 12. And if they come in on race 7 or race 9 for the last GP, that's a scoring boost you have to suddenly be on the edge for. And especially if Tip gets track picks and gets that running game going, it's going to be very hard to beat through. I think the edge should go to Baba Merchants, but Tip is the type of team to make some upsets. And they've been underrated this entire season, I think. So don't be surprised to see them win here. Make and put a stunner and an upset, if possible. The Crew versus King Crimson. Now, Crimson won a very tight game last time they played. But the Crew is very different from the first time they played. There's a lot more development that's happened with Bowser's Big Crew. I think the Crew should win this one. I think there's just too much great stuff happening from this team, especially with the emergence of Zach as winning one of the best players I think this season. Top 10 I think this season. I have Nick in the support there, and when you have Zay able to play as like the third option, the fourth option, when Zay has turned into Chris Bosch, like that's saying a lot. So I think the Crew should win this, but King Crimson, if they're playing hot, if they're on a winning streak, then this becomes one of the more interesting matches, because then you have like a Astra playing well and Rhino playing well. Really, when the Oklahoma players especially play well, we're talking Rhino, Taika, Rumble, if they're ever playing well, they are going to be one of the bigger threats in the scene. And I think if they all play well together, and if you have to support Delta, that becomes a really hard lineup to break through. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot for them to win this, which is why I would still say Bowser's Big Crew should be favored here. Chris Bosch mentioned. Yeah. I was going to say, I still love Chris Bosch. Buns MK Wall. This one's going to be a classic. Oh my gosh. And the fun thing is, this might have playoff implications for the spot, not even like a glimpse into a playoff matchup. This might be a must-win for Buns. Maybe if MK Wall stumbles a bit down the line, maybe this is a must-win for MKW. Expect to see all of their best players coming here, unless like some spots are yet to be determined. And with that happening, I kind of want to give the lead to Buns. I know MK Wall won last time, but I feel like there's just something about Buns MK that I think could be really good. Because I also feel like Buns is gonna be on a winning streak in the next few times, in the last few games, and I think that momentum is gonna play a lot in their favor. I think they'll be 5-4 going into this, assuming this is played after match 9. And if that's the case, they want to end 6-4 to not only maybe clinch a spot in playoffs, or maybe even win the conference. A lot could happen here. We will see. But MK Wall is a very hard team to say no to, because there's just so many good things that happen on that team. And like, you know how good that core is, the MK Wall core from the MKU, MKS, MKC team, as well as adding Vestoga, Mr. Active Skill, and Greg. Depending on who they bring, this could be maybe even a lopsided win in favor of MK Wall. This turns into almost a coin flip. It's going to be close. Their first game was already incredibly close. This one should also be really interesting to see. 180 versus IFL karting class. This is also interesting. This might also be playoff implications here. 180 either plays spoiler, or they're trying to steal their last playoff spots at this point. Meanwhile, the karting class are probably also trying to steal or trying to snag that last spot, because they're already in a spot chance opportunity for them to hold on. Looking at these players, looking at these rosters, thinking about it now, I think this is lineup dependent. I think this is one of the actual coin flips of the season here. And the fun thing is that it's coming into like match 10. This is another one where you want to watch this one be streamed because like even if this doesn't have playoff implications, this one should be very close, especially if they have like close to top LUs playing. We're saving Tip and Big Crew for last because I think this one might be a great match also for stream. I'm also going to put the Merchants beating King Crimson. But this one I think could be a bit more of an upset potential. You never know what happens here. Maybe Baba Merchants already clinch. They don't bring everyone they need to. Meanwhile, King Crimson, you give them a chance to run, they are going to run away. Delta's a great name to have at top. Then you have great players from the Oklahoma, UCSD. You're just able to add on that extra support. If that all happens, I think they are very likely to maybe even just win this game. I'm still going to lean bomb, depending on lineup though. But if that happens, if we have like a very different lineups from each side, King Crimson could pull this off. And Tip Crew. This was a 5v6 last time. Crew has had some upper hand stuff too. The signs are in favor of the Crew, just because of the way they've been playing. And they had to have like those multiple tops. That does make it difficult for Tip to win without big plays. But I do think this is a game where there's a lot of potential for some crazy stuff to happen here. If one player from Ice World goes crazy that isn't expected to, if we have the Sunset Legacy game, the Baja Masterclass, if we see Ray get back into that like high scoring form we saw earlier, Luxatone drops another 100 plus, Anomaly, Steamy, Jack, if we see any of those players do something big, that's going to make things really scary. In fact, that's probably the last thing you want to see if you're the Crew. The Crew's goal, their key to victory here for this last matchup, making sure nothing unexpected happens from the side of Ice World. Even if you're seeing an Ice World player, who there's some notable shock merchants on that team, if you see them pulling a lot, if they win the item battle, then Ice World wins this. Crew wins if they're just able to keep the driving up and minimize the RNG aspect of this game. And Ice World, well, they have a bit of that gamble strategy, not only with the subs and their playstyle and the items, but if the luck goes their way, I think Ice World wins this. And I think this is another match that determines playoffs for the season. I love how close this league is. We're gonna be... How will this affect JP Givener's legacy? Okay, let's think about this. JP Givener is from Ontario. So you have could have been a member of Ontario United. We saw some great stuff from like a lot of the Canadian schools recently, so how would this affect JP Givener's legacy? JP didn't drop out of season 1. Yeah, pretty much. How does this affect his legacy? I think this entire season has proved... Okay, if Bowser's Big Crew wins the entire thing, that means Zach is officially a better player than JP Givener. I don't know. Actually, Zach's resume is better than JP Givener's CKL legacy. But let's be quite honest, guys. The amount of stuff, credentials that Zach has, it's already better than JP Givener's. JP Givener couldn't last a season in CKL. So you never know. You know, if Bomb wins, that means USA definitely beats Canada in the World Cup. That's what happens. Okay. Let me quick check. What was on the main screen? Oh yeah, I had like... Who was making playoffs? Let's keep it simple. Here's my predictions. I have Bomb winning Conference B. I'm gonna go MK Wall wins Conference A. No, okay, yeah, those probably aren't big like surprises or anything, but now in the wildcard things get interesting. I think the winner of Bun's karting class takes up wildcard spots. Similarly, I think the winner of Crew Ice World takes the wildcard spots. If you want like the solid things, I think Crew might make playoffs here. I think it's more so just because of the fact that they've been playing with a very similar lineup the entire time. And then I think if Buns is able to win their next game, they might make playoffs. But if every loss for Buns makes things very difficult for them. And then karting class might steal their spot. So there you go. As for biggest draft steals, just gonna keep this quick. I would love to say Zach, but Zach wasn't drafted. The Goji was a huge steal from the Baba Merchants. Drafted in like one of like the mid rounds. Insanities. Sales, huge pickup from F-, and really seeing a lot of great playing time, a lot of great results recently. Similar thing with Jay Gussie on MKW. Really getting a lot of valuable playtime. I don't think Score is representative of their value. Stingray Luxatone, huge pickups again from the side of Tip. There's amazing stuff you've seen from those squads overall. Would love to see how these two especially contribute later on in the season. Trying to think, anyone else? Everyone else is like expected results wise, I would think. Big shouts to Golden Asian though for like putting up great numbers in their playing time, their availability. Ghost has been one of the sneakier names here too, from 180. Putting in a lot of work overall. And other breakout stars, Top Hat really showing why they deserved all the recognition they got in from last season. We talked about Zach a ton this season, who's been a huge star, honestly, here. Evolved also putting up great numbers for their team. Bagel in their like CKL debut. This was exactly what we wanted to see. What we expected. Similar with Delta too. And Green, obviously. Green, runaway MVP at this point, if we're being quite honest. Okay. That's the end of everything I have so far. Chat, any questions before I wrap up stream? We'll give like a minute or two before I wrap up then. Let's go back to the main screen here. When next Spicy stream, you'll see something before playoffs. My goal is before playoffs, not only will you see me here, we're going to try and bring on as many of the CKL analysts as possible. And we're going to make this a bigger production than I think I've ever had for like the 101s, the seeding streams, the game days. It's going to be something, if I can get it going, it's going to be something special. So I'll announce that, and hopefully not playing it within 24 hours because this is 2 a.m. thought, if I'm being quite honest with you guys. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks you will see another spicy stream on the CKL Twitch. How's my evening going? Going alright. I got a Splatoon game, Ludi, which is basically our version of Splatoon's version of MKU later tonight. I got a Philly land tomorrow, so I gotta finish packing and all that. I gotta ask for another capture card from another person who's going tomorrow, so because our second capture card won't be there. But hey, should be fun. So, but other than that, that's probably gonna be it to wrap up the midterm review. Hope you guys study well. End up going in for a great rest of the season. I don't know when our next prime time is. I think it'll depend on when the other matches are, but you'll hear us go. How to go from silver 1 to diamond? You are asking the wrong person. There are way better players who can do that for me. I think that your first strat is I think you have to go into Mario Kart Lounge, and then you have to play a game there, a couple games there, and then you'll eventually get there. There's some other steps in the process, but I know at least that part you have to at least play games. Or if you wait like 30 years, we might just have enough of a jump that your like default rank will eventually just get up to Diamond 1. Because there was a jump from like, we just added like 2000 MMR to every player like a year and a half or so ago. And like everyone in Iron moved up to Bronze for just by being there. And I was like, hey, if you just wait, the MMR inflation will be in your favor. So just give it like 30 years, invest your MMR now, and you'll eventually be Diamond 1. Oh my gosh, if you think about it, we're all in the top like 1% of players, like not even 1%. Just playing the game comp, it's crazy to think about it because like you're so good compared to like the average player that plays this game. Like even the most basic players here, you look at CKL D4, MMR, yes, so that would be the ranking system for like, it's the rating system. It's used in a lot of other games. I think it's used in like other systems too. There's like a server called Mario Kart Lounge. It's a place to play like competitive Mario Kart against players outside of just like regionals worldwide. You play against like like-minded players against all over the world, similar skill levels and all that. So I think that will be, if you want to go check out, there's like quite a few people here stream. So if anyone here wants to plug their own Twitch, plug their own videos, go ahead, do that to explain that. Let me get a raid going real quick. Yeah, there's so many players here, and we're somehow better than all these players. But hey, I think that's pretty cool. But I think that's going to be it for me today here on the CKL Twitch. Thank you guys for coming in. We're going to give a quick raid to one of the greatest players here. We're going to be raiding up Danny Fathom here. So have fun, guys. I'll see you guys around for another CKL stream. Have a good one, guys.